after senior year, I graduated. I told my parents, that's it. You know, I wasn't going out applying for jobs. Gazette wanted me back, and so I came back. And that very first summer, one of the court reporters was ill. That would be the summer of 1959, because I graduated in June, and they put me on the court beat. And anyway, I was having a lot of fun. It tied in a bit with the police work, so I knew all the cops, and I knew the courthouse, and I knew the setup pretty well. And it was a good way to sort of practice my French and to learn more French, because I realized you weren't going anywhere if you're an Anglophone in Quebec if you couldn't speak perfect French. So I worked hard at that. But so one day in about November, and I don't, the dates I can't, the publisher came to me and he said, we're having lunch tomorrow with the Dean of Law. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we're having lunch with him. He says, you were wasting your time in this business. He said, what do you mean? I want to be the next Walter Lippmann of Canada, and so on. And he said, no, he said, you've got a legal mind, you've got a natural, I think this business is, I hear you're up at the press club every night till 4 in the morning. I said, it's part of the business, and I, especially when I'm on the late desk and stuff, I don't even finish work till 1 o'clock. In those days, we used to have 3-4 editions, and, we'd leave the paper and go to the press club and have a few jars, and, it was part of the culture. This was in the 50s. So anyway, he said, no, I think you should. And so I met the Dean of Law, and the publisher said, this guy, works for us, and I think he should be a lawyer and go to law school. He's very reluctant. And anyway, one thing led to another, and I was admitted to law school right away. And I started up, and the condition gave was I got to stay working at the Gazette. I made my more or less peace with my parents, and they'd given me a wonderful education, and it was like that. There was a period of time with the Conservatives, Mulroney. That's because home guys were the leaders, the prime ministers. So Louis Saint-Laurent, Liberal, Quebecer, Brian Mulroney, Conservative, Quebecer, and then we got people elected. But now you have a guy from the West, or wherever you want to say Harper's really from. They don't have a sense of that he's there, flesh and blood, and so it isn't that easy. I mean, we've got 11 elected, or 12, I think, in 2006. That we're down to a little handful now. Can't even, but they're ready to vote. I'm telling you, Harper doesn't even believe this himself, but they're ready to vote Conservative. But the Prime Minister, who was very, very good in French, and he's what we call in Quebec un bon père de famille. He's seen as quelqu'un avec ses pieds, ses pattes sur la terre. He's a guy who's not going to let them down when the poo-poo hits the fan. He's going to be a good, and they like that. And they'd vote for him just in an absolute heartbeat. But, all this stuff gets muddied, well, they're cutting down $80,000 from some little arts club in Chicoutimi, and these things get blown out of proportion, and nobody goes down there as the spokesman. But look what we got. We got 5 members, and the people all voted NDP with no organization. So it's not, you got to get the minds, and you got to get the people, and the way you do that is you're present. And Jack Layton went in on Tout le monde en parle. He went to Quebec. Il était le bon petit Jack. People soon considered him like their brother. Jack, c'est un bon, and he swept the province. Anything, I'll support the government laws, because that's what I am, a member of that. But I personally feel there's a much better way to do it. And I realize, but you gotta, if you're gonna mess with the Constitution, you gotta amend it properly. And you don't hope that you can do it in a way, in the backdoor way, and the Supreme Court won't overturn it. You want to go step by step. There are some things we know, like increasing fixing the term at 8 years, 10 years, 12, whatever it is. That probably can be done without a constitutional thing. It's probably within the scope of the remit, if you want, of Parliament. But to change the representation of BC or Prince Edward Island or Ontario, or to make the senators elected as opposed to appointed, or any of those things, come on. I mean, so if we want to change the Constitution, we have a formula for doing it. What I'll miss are the people and how much people who are here care about Canada. Yeah, I will miss it a lot. I'm even thinking of running if they do bring in elected senators.